Point After Podcast with your host, Julien Barnett.
What is up, fantasy world? How is it going? I am your host of the Point After Podcast. I'm Julien, welcoming you in on this fine, good Friday. I have two fantastic analysts on today, but not actually the main reason that we're here today. We'll get into that a little bit more, but let me go ahead and introduce the people who I'm here with because I am super pumped to get into it with you two. Down on the bottom, our first guest, his first guest appearance on the Point After, Ben C., my point extra concierge. You and I, we're very close. If you look at our handles here, we got the Point After FF and the Extra Point FF, and it has been a pleasure working with you the past month and a half, getting this fundraiser that we're going to talk about set up. I'm super excited to talk about it with you, and I'm just pumped to have you on the show. So thanks for coming on, man. How you doing?
Yeah, dude. Appreciate you having me on. I feel like you and I kind of talked about, like, we're literally like, I don't know. I feel like doppelgangers in some way, right? Like, you're Canadian, I'm American. You know, you've got the red hair, red beard going. I've got the brown hair, brown beard. You're the Point After. I'm the Extra Point. Like, I don't know. It's just
something seems fishy here.
Yeah, dude. I don't get it. But hey, man, the world brought us together, and we got this event we're launching this off season. So I love it, man. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. And then to my right here, we got Chris Robin from the Undroppables, also on DFS Cheat Sheet, is pumping out all kinds of DFS daily hot pucking stacks. Chris, thank you for coming on, man. And you're my part-time co-host, but I love having you here, and I'm super excited to be on this podcast with you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't be happier to be here every second Friday. I think that's what the contract says that I signed. So every other Friday. And then I'm excited. It's spring. There's baseball back. Been able to talk and kind of write some baseball DFS stuff, hockey. We're not even clicking on all cylinders yet. So it's just a small sample size. Nobody's really seen my true form yet. Nobody's has yet to see Julien or Ben's final form. We're going to come together like a megalodon or whatever the Power Rangers or anything is called. So this is going to be fantastic. I couldn't be more excited to be here.
Well, I am pumped to have you guys on, and we are going to get into some stuff later. But before we get into that, I just want to talk about some of the stuff that happened in the NFL this week, because there were some pretty big headlines. Starting with the NFL going to a 17-game season. Previously, with a 16-game season, we will never again have a team at 500. We won't have teams going 6-10 anymore. That's going to be a new fresh look. So, Chris, I want to hear what you got to say about this. Do you like this one for fantasy? Do you like this for the NFL? And how do you think this impacts these players?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a fan. I'm sure I speak for everybody that says we just enjoy football, anything and everything football. Off season, we're talking about it. We're writing. We're coming up with plans, outlines, different ways to learn and grow, to kind of take this all in, to ingest it. So a 17-game season, to me, it's going to be fantastic. But there's going to be so many speed bumps and hurdles, because again, I'm not the first person to say this. There's going to be some sort of like in the NBA, or in not so much hockey players, they play every game with no teeth, their eye socket hanging out. They play through anything. But in basketball formats, and even in baseball, certain after a week or 10 days playing, you get a rest day. You're going to sit out. In basketball, they do it all the time, and it's never been more prevalent in basketball. LeBron is out tonight, he's getting a rest day, right? Or Joel Embiid is out tonight, he's going to rest because, we have, LA or Philly has a big weekend series in division or something. So I'm almost certain we're going to start to see that in NFL, where coaches and GMs, they're going to look ahead in the schedule and say, well, of 17 games, just speaking to Aaron Rodgers, Julian, your team, your quarterback, sitting Aaron Rodgers down and saying, hey, listen, so we have 17 games and probably we need about 12 of, well, in the North, you probably only need to win 9 or 10. So Green Bay is going to say, realistically, Aaron, we need you at top speed for only 12 games. The other 5 will kind of, you can pick and choose if you want to only play a half or you want to be pulled in the third quarter or something. So it's kind of going to be on the in-season, on-the-job training for not only them, the coaches, the analysts, and people like us who write DFS, who broadcast. So again, in the grand scheme of things, 17 games is fantastic. For us, we get to see it more, we get to take it in more, talk about it, whatever, everything under the sun. We get more NFL. That's what we've always wanted. But in terms of like real life, realistically, DFS and seasonal content, it's going to be a hard learning curve in this season.
Yeah, that is a really interesting take. I had not thought of that, but you bring up a very valid point. I think that these guys could be seeing rest days. It's shut down in the middle of the season for 2 weeks or whatever, right? Just to let your body recoup. Ben, what do you think about this 17-game season? And do you think guys are going to be getting rest games?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting take. I mean, I feel like I've heard it. I think it's something that was mentioned, I think, when this whole idea was first getting tossed out there. The real interesting part of it to me is, I mean, I'm 31 and in my lifetime, I've never seen a league expand, like change their, amount of games unless it was, shortened because of strike or whatever else. But like, to me, it's really interesting, right? Because now we have to essentially start to rewrite record books and everything from this point forward changes, just like whenever they change from 14 to 16. And so, like, I think that that's an interesting dynamic. And then, I mean, we're all fantasy guys. So it's just determining what you do now with your leagues with that extra game and what that looks like. It completely changes the complexity of the entire season. Even though it's just one game, it totally changes things. And like Chris was saying, it could absolutely have an impact on, like, what do some of those November games look like now? And you start to rest guys maybe a little bit for the stretch. And it completely changes that dynamic. It's going to be super interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and it'll be cool. Like we're witnessing history here, right? You said it best yourself. So the next piece of news I want to touch on real quick is Tyler Lockett getting extended and a 4-year contract for $69.5 million, 37 fully guaranteed. He's going to be 29 in September. This seems like a pretty hefty overpay. That's more than any receiver got in free agency this year. So Ben, I want to go back to you. Where are you at with this Tyler Lockett news? Like, not really for fantasy, but just from like a football perspective, how does this all shake out for the Seahawks?
So I think that my initial reaction has to be like, this is to please Russell Wilson, and we've seen the drama that's gone on with that team with Russ and whatnot, and I think he tweeted out recently. I think it was before the Russ deal, but like they seem to be on good terms now. But like Tyler Lockett's clearly good friend of the quarterback, right? So I mean, they obviously still have DK, but DK, mind you, he's still got a couple of fairly cheap years left on his contract. So it's like you've kind of got that like overlap right now where you've got a cheap DK who's going to have to get paid in the next couple of years. But now's your opportunity to maybe pay a guy like Lockett and still keep Russ happy. So I think that that's the biggest impact on it. And I mean, like you said, he's 29, but his first few years in the league, he didn't like see the field nearly as much. Yeah. So, right. So I think he's a somewhat fresh 29, and like, I think it's a nice move for Seattle. I mean, it keeps that dynamic of that offense and keeps them pretty wide open. So I don't hate it for them. It is an interesting pay, but I mean, Seattle's not going to be in a position to draft like one of these high-end wide receivers, I feel like, anytime soon.
No, and I mean, they have much bigger needs than going after a wide receiver in the draft. So, and like you said, pairing these two together, you're basically saying, we're going to have Lockett, and they can cut him, in year 4 when he's 33 years old, and he's only going to be like an $8 million cap hit. But that's, neither here or there. I do like picking these guys up and putting them both there together. What do we got here? Dynasty hot sauce. Whoops. Boom. All right, guys. So let's get into why we're actually here today. we're talking about the Brighter Skies Podathon Best Ball League. Ben, you and I have been putting this together with a group of other like-minded fantasy football individuals. Do you just want to? I pulled this up here so everybody can see kind of just when, time, all that good stuff. But Ben, do you just want to kind of give them like a quick rundown of how you get into this, how you get entered, and really like what it is?
Yeah, 100%. So we've got the Brighter Skies handle where you can follow us for the event. It's at Brighter Skies FF.
And on the bottom,
I believe it's scrolling across the bottom down there too. Yep, at Brighter Skies FF. So Julien and we've made a few videos about it, but tonight's our chance to really, I think, get a little bit more in depth and go beyond the 2 minutes and whatever 20 seconds the Twitter gets us on a promo video. But basically, like Julien's talked about, is that it's going to be like the heart of it is a best ball league. And it's a 16-team best ball league that to get into it, we are raffling off the entries. And so you can't just sign up necessarily. So in order to, quote unquote, buy a ticket, we're essentially just asking for donations to the charity that we've chosen, which is the Cyber Smile Foundation. And the whole idea, the whole reason that this even came together is really to raise awareness for cyberbullying. And that's really what Cyber Smile is all about, is providing resources, not only to educate, whether it's the youth or whatever, like educate on the devastating impacts of cyberbullying, but also provide resources for those that have been affected by it. And so that's where your donation is going. It's going to provide Cyber Smile, who's a complete nonprofit, with these really the funds to provide these resources. So it's a $20 per ticket fee. I don't know. I feel like we need a better term for that, but it's a donation.
Your $20 donation is your entry into the league. And so when you buy, every $20 you spend gets you an entry into the league. And so basically, you just have to. I'll pull it up here and show people what they're doing. So this is the wrong page. But basically, guys, it's $20 per ticket. You can enter a maximum of 10 times. Which is a total of $200, and we're gonna get into like some of the prizes that are in this contest, but there's things well over $200 worth of as a prize for your best ball league. So we'll get into that, but before we do, I want to give just a massive shout out to some of the people who have been working behind the scenes, and starting with our guys over at Viridian Global. They've set us up with some absolutely wicked merchandise, all different kinds of swag. I'll pull it up here. Just look at all this stuff, right? They've got all different kinds of ball caps, toques. They've got women's apparel, men's apparel. There's stuff that I couldn't even fit on this page that is on the website. So definitely go check it out at viridianglobal.com. And just a huge thanks to them for doing what they're doing and helping us with this. And more specifically, all of the proceeds from our Viridian Global sales are also going to go to charity. And so that's what's really cool about this. We are in this for ourselves. We're here because we really want to spread awareness and raise awareness for the harsh reality that cyberbullying is in the world. And so that's that. Moving down, I want to thank Dan. He has done all of this graphic work. Everything that you see on the screen here is all Dan and is phenomenal. You guys are going to see it later too. He put a lot of this together, and he just does it behind the scenes. And it's honestly just amazing the work that he does, and I can't thank him enough. So huge shout out to Dan. And then down at the bottom, check out all of those handles. We got Christian Williamson and C. Williams, NFL, Jeff Bell, Clinic Cap, Todd A, Scott Simpson, Nate Williams from our True North crew. These are all guys who helped get this idea off the ground and really help start to promote it and grow it together. And so huge shout out to all of those guys for taking a stand too.
Real quick, I guess potentially a special shout out there, at least from my standpoint, for Clinic Cap at Clinic Cap, because I know he's the one that initially I saw his post, when all of this went down. Like I had missed what initially happened, in the community that really kind of spurred us to really want to make an impact here. But so I think, I don't know if he's the one that originally put this DM group together, but he's definitely the one that brought me into it and kind of spurred the conversation that we really started to have about, not just being upset about what happened, but actually putting action to it and saying, hey, like, let's make a difference here and try to do something other than, thoughts and prayers, quote unquote, like whatever. Like, we wanted to do something else. And I know that at Clinic Happily, he's the one that really pulled me into it, at least. I don't know about everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, I'm honestly not even sure where it had all started. I mean, I was just talking to people, on separate posts, and we were kind of like-minded and said we should do something, and this group was now forming, and so we all just kind of, that was like the group of us Clinic Cap was in there, and that's how we got this started. So before we move on to what the people in the contest are going to be playing for, we're going to announce our first host of the podathon. So without further ado, drum roll, please.
Yeah, let's get it.
Here, Chris Robble. Thank you, buddy. You're going to be hosting 1 hour of our podathon. Just you take it away, man. You know what to say.
Yeah, absolutely. When you guys reached out, I'm stuttering because there's so much in your head that you want to say or get out when you're very passionate about, one thing or one group or one person in general. Like, I'm sure both of you are in long-term relationships. I'm sure, you stammered and stuttered when you were proposing to your wife, Ben, right? So in a way, being kind of at a loss for words or stuttering or anything like that is a sign of passion. It means like my brain is working faster than my mouth can kind of get the stuff out. But being asked to host is a massive honor. I don't take it lightly. I'm very humbled and excited, to say the least. And it's like your mind starts to go about, what kind of content do I want to put out? Who do I want to have out? What do I want to go with? What kind of flow, or as the young kids say, what kind of vibe do I want to get going? And then it's like, you stop in your tracks and realize it's not about me. It's not about any one host. It's not about, what witty jokes I can say. What's the a tagline that will get the most laughs. It's not about me. It's not about any of us, I'd like to think. It's about a bigger cause here. And that's, cyberbullying and being part of the solution instead of being part of the problem. A lot of times people get too caught up in, having fun, joking around, poking and prodding, putting someone down under the guise, well, they know who I am. They know it's a joke. Not everybody is like that. People, especially on social media or just like a text or an email in general, there's no emotion involved. It's just a sentence. It could have been a robot that says, Julien, I hate your shirt, or Ben, I don't like those headphones, something. And you don't know because there's no emotion. There's no inflection in the voice here. So we have to be very, I don't want to say PC because you would hold somebody back. Be yourself, but kind of I don't know how I want to say this. You have to be mindful of who you're talking to, and in general, I would go a step further and say, act like if you're going to interact with people in regular everyday life, you wouldn't talk like that at the bank. You wouldn't put somebody down at the gas station or when you're grocery shopping, because there's two human beings face to face that can see each other's eyes. You can hear kind of the tone you're setting. But on social media and cyberbullying, as BrighterSkies FF has said, we kind of have to stop the problem before it starts. And what we're doing here in this event is it's a small piece of the puzzle. But if we can, I know this is corny when you say, if I can, I say this with my DFS stuff or, any of our content, if I can change one person's mind, if I can kind of get the wheels kind of in reverse or switched, motion, then my job is done. Then what I have done for that day or for that instance is all well and good, and I understand that. But then one comes to three. It's like a tree, like a family tree, like a route tree, as they say in football. One turns to three, three turns to six, six turns to nine, and we go on and on and on. So I would implore people. I would ask you. I don't normally tell people what to do. That's not my business. I'm really only in control of myself. I can't control people, places, and things. And then I've known a lot of people get upset at other people's actions. I can't, your attitude is your attitude. I can only do so much. So I'm just asking people to just be more kind on a daily basis. You walk down to the mailbox, you wave to your old lady neighbor who, you know, her best days are behind her. A wave and a smile might mean so much to her. I know that, you know, in my younger years, I used to have to get up very early for work, and I'm not a morning person, you know, and I'd go to the gas station and get a drink for my lunch, whatever. Someone would nod and smile, and that's all I would think about my drive to work because it was so positive. People are very much, they're very impressionable. One wrong word, it's awful. It's collapse, demise. But again, in turn, a smile, hi, how you doing? That, you know, that article was fantastic, or, you know, you're getting gas, I love your car. Just a simple compliment. You don't have to be over the top romantic comedy kind of corny. Just say, hi, I'm Chris, introduce yourself. That stuff goes a long way. And in today's day and age, nobody has manners anymore. Nobody's connecting on a personal level. Everything's just so disconnected because we're all on our phones. We're all on the computer. Nobody's really, you know, connecting. You know, it's just a simple phone call. Just call, say hi, how you doing? I've had plenty of those this week with people I've never talked to before, all from Twitter, all from Facebook, all, as Julien says, like-minded people. We say hi, and before you know it, we're talking for an hour and a half. We're talking for 2 hours. And as soon as I hang the phone up, I don't remember anything I said. The only thing I remember is how impressionable the other person on the other line of the phone was. So if you take that tiny little, you know, tiny little scenario and kind of spin it to your advantage in a good way, we're going to change people in what they're doing and their attitudes. And again, I'm not in the business of telling people what to do. I can only say, you know, I can only control me and my attitudes. And what I want to do is be positive and help people and go from there. That's all I can do. And personally, I think that's all anybody can do. We're not in a dictatorship society. Everybody has free will. Everybody is allowed to do what they want to do. And to me, at the end of the night, it boils down to, is my conscience clear? Did I do everything I good or that I thought I was going to do tonight? And to be honest, guys, I fall asleep in 5 minutes because I have that ingrained in my mind. Treat people like you here in first grade. Treat people how you would want to be treated. Would you call someone, you know, a fat pig? Would you put somebody down? Absolutely not. So why would you accept that kind of behavior when you see it or when you're doing it yourself? So not in the business of calling people out, naming names, and trying to control what everybody does and says. You'll go crazy. I lived that for a few years, long time ago, and it got me nowhere. It's all how I choose to spend my time. Do I want to spend my time being rude, being a prick, being a jerk? Well, yeah, I mean, you're going to get awful results. Or do I want to spend my time being kind, helpful, and supportive? I choose to spend my time being kind, helpful, and supportive, you know, in this day and age. So I can't thank you enough for asking me to be here, being, you know, a host here. It could be 5 minutes, but as long as I can, you know, kind of, you know, speak and get something off my chest and go from there, then we're good. So I'm very excited to be asked to be a part of this.
Well, I am super excited to have you, and you know, I appreciate you saying all that. And plain and simple, like let's just be nice to one another. Let's you know, spread kindness, and yeah, and Jay in the chat said it best. Cheers to that, because I could not agree more. Let's get back into our Brighter Skies contest, because we're going to pull up what the people are actually playing for, and this is really exciting because we haven't really announced all of our prizes. We've only done a couple here and there. So you definitely want to be checking this out here. And so we've got our first list here. It's the first 8. So these aren't in any one order. People are going to actually, the first place is going to get to pick their prize. Second place is going to get to pick their prize. Third place, pick their prize. And they can pick out of any of these 16 items that we have, because we have a prize for every single person who gets into the contest. So just take a look at them on the screen there. Number 1, we got $250 in Monkey Knife Fight cash. We have a whole get up from Viridian Global. They're going to do a shirt, a tee, and a hoodie from all across their platform. So you can pick any 3 things that you want there. Also from Viridian Global and from Sons of Dynasty, we have a t-shirt and stickers and a hat combo that they're doing. Trophy Smack is donating a championship ring, so if you finish 4th or 5th place, you can go and get that. Subscriptions to a plethora of tools, including from you, Chris, a DFS lineup optimizer.
Yeah, and if I could,
go
Julien, I'd like to add in maybe in the graphic next time. The subscriptions to the optimizer will come courtesy of Roto Ballers, Roto QL, and with the recommendation of Detroit Beastie. And I'll take it a step further and say you'll get a full NFL season package, and I'll even add in like a 10 to 15 minute consultation Sunday morning before lock if that's the one you want to choose.
Hey,
there we go. Hopefully, that is fantastic, and I love when we get surprise prizes on the pod. So,
yeah, man.
We'll be talking about some of these. We're going to be going on a lot of these people's podcasts over the next couple weeks, 2 months, maybe. You and I, Ben, just talking about the whole contest, about the fundraiser, and about some of the prizes that are going to be on there. So the last two on this slide here is a copy of the Analytics of Dynasty, which I actually recently just purchased. Fantastic book that I highly recommend anybody checking out. If you or if you want to wait until next season and win this best ball league, go ahead and do that. And then we got $50 to Prediction Strike, which if you haven't checked out, you definitely should, because I think of it as real life Dynasty. You spend a small amount of money to buy stocks into players, and then based on their fantasy implications and their fantasy output, they either go up or down. So $50 on that. And then our next 8 are also pretty fantastic. We've got a live play-by-play of your home league draft, which is really going to be really cool, courtesy of David Mendelson. Basically what they're going to do, they're going to dress up in suits and narrate your home league's redraft league. So they'll be announcing all of the picks and doing all that kind of stuff. So a very cool idea. And I'm excited to have that on there. We're going to have a True North hoodie and hat combo from True North. DLF year-long subscription courtesy of Ryan McDowell at DLF, which is pretty wicked, because if you aren't on DLF and you play Dynasty, I highly recommend doing it, because you're going to get a leg up. And then, just our last 4 things here is a custom design logo from Dan May Graphics, which I think is a really, really cool prize. It doesn't have to be like for Twitter or anything. If you've got a wedding coming up or somebody's birthday party, he'll make them like a custom card. He made me one for my girlfriend's birthday a couple of years ago, and or not a couple of years ago, last year, and it was phenomenal. So that one is super, super cool. And we got a pack of 5 NBA Top Shot moments. So if you guys are playing NBA Top Shot, I don't know if you guys are, but I definitely am. And some of these moments can really range in price. So that's going to be a really cool package put together. And then a copy of the 2021 Fantasy Stock Exchange, which I had them on my show actually about, I want to say, a month and a half ago. I had Corey and Danny on to do a mock draft together, and their knowledge is just phenomenal. And so I highly recommend checking out that draft kit if you can. And if not, you're going to win one next year. So, and then lastly, the last 2 things, this is a combo of 2 different shirts, one from Dynasty Rewind and then one from Triple Play Fantasy. So I feel like I just talked a lot there, and everybody's just like, oh my God, I can't comprehend all that knowledge.
Julien,
that's our prizes, man.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of as kids. I mean, we're all, mid to late 20s, early to mid 30s, if you're like me. But, when you went to the arcade and you played, skee ball or whack-a-mole or whatever else they got out, and you get tickets, and you have to go to the counter before you leave and you exchange your tickets. But nothing was ever in my price range in terms of how many tickets I got. But here you can kind of, you have, free reign. You can choose any tickets you want. And those tickets are additions or applications into the tournament for your best ball. So for ever many teams you sign up for, you're choosing your own amount of tickets. In essence, you're choosing your own prize here. So this is fantastic. So get in as many as you can. Don't overextend yourself, whatever you can afford. And again, you have a garbage pail full of tickets. So use them wisely.
So the thing that I think is super cool is like you were just hitting on, Chris, right? Like, so not only is your donation, like your
Going
ticket
to a
that
good
you're buying
cause.
is a donation, right, to an awesome cause, right? And now you win, quote unquote, the raffle, which means you get to participate in this league. So now you get to do a draft with all of like just fantasy's finest, like hosting
Well,
it
and
yourself
tell them how
included.
it's going to work, man. Like, tell them how
So
the podathon is going to work, because we didn't really get into that yet.
yeah.
It's so much fun. It's going to be awesome. So get into that, yeah.
And I think that quite frankly, I mean, I don't know. I want to say the coolest part, but then I like think about it, I'm like, wait a second, well, like this is also cool. So I think it's all very fun. But what's really unique about the draft of this best ball league is that it's going to take place during a all-day podathon. And so, like we just mentioned, Chris BC, he's one of our hosts. So he's going to be on for an hour with, whatever guests that he chooses to have on. And for an hour long, you're going to have, Chris and his guests talking about the draft picks as you're making them live for this best ball league. And it's really the idea behind it is like, we all love to watch the NFL draft on ESPN, NFL, whatever. And you're going to be able to draft a best ball team and listen to these guys, guys and girls talk about your picks and the picks of everybody else in the league. So you're going to get this analysis as it's happening live of your draft picks. And I think that that's super fun. So you're going to be able to sit down, turn on your computer, your phone, participate in this draft, and just watch it be talked about the whole time, which I think is awesome. So, but on top of that, by just participating in the league, because we've put together 16 different prize packages, we've guaranteed that everybody in the league, no matter whether you finish first or 16th, is going to get some sort of a reward just for participating. And I think that that's cool because, I mean, again, this is all for charity. Like, nobody's making money on this besides those that need it, at Cyber Smiles and those that are trying to raise awareness for this. But those that are participating, not only do you get to reap the benefits of participating in this whole thing, we've now put together a package that at least means that no matter how you finish, no matter how you draft this best ball league, you get one of these awesome prizes. And like Julien hinted at the beginning, is that these are not like first place gets this, second place gets that. It's you get to choose, because we understand that all of these prizes hold different values for everybody differently. And so depending on what your interests are, you are very likely going to get a prize package from this whole thing that really correlates to what you want. So it's not just I don't know. It's not like one is better than the other per se. It's
totally
you get something that you want out of it.
Everything is it's in the eye of the beholder. The old adage, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So essentially when you're choosing, it's all in your realm and whatever you want to do. If you don't play DFS and you're like a dynasty diehard, then why would you want an optimizer package, and why would you want to bore yourself with me 10 to 15 minutes every Sunday morning? You want to be in peace setting your lineup. So DFS, in 5 to 10 minute conversation with me isn't up your alley. Maybe a hat, maybe some swag. A hat and a t-shirt is great for your next podcast appearance, whatever you want to do. If you're huge with Monkey Knife Fight, 250 cash for Monkey Knife Fight will get you so far. I've played on Monkey Knife Fight before, and that would get you if you play like me, probably 10 minutes. But let's say a regular betting man or woman, that would last you a couple of weeks, and if you use it right, money's coming in, and that's it. So the analytics stuff, getting to hang with Ryan McDowell is fantastic. He's someone I've looked up to for years. I'm sure we all know who Ryan McDowell is and his mystique and his mysteriousness. So you'd be able to go along with him. So again, everything just kind of piggybacking or touching on what Ben said, everything is in your eyes, the proverbial ball is in your court.
It definitely is. And like you guys said, there's nothing here that I don't want. Like, even if I come last, I'm still pumped like about one of these prizes. So just super cool. Definitely go check it out at BrighterSkies FF. It's scrolling across the bottom there after our names. But like 100% got to go get in there. It's a $20 donation for one ticket. And what's cool is like we have this open for the next like 2.5 months. And so you could do this week. You could do 20 in 2 weeks. You know, like every time you get paid, like $20, boom, boom, boom. Say you do it 3 times, you have, you know, 3 entries into this contest, and you know, you're going to spend more money on than you're going to spend more money on these things if you were to buy them on your own than, you know.
And I do want to say, you know, don't overextend yourself.
100%.
If you
right?
can't afford it, then you can't afford it. There's no ill will. No one's putting you down. No one's going to call you names. You do what you can do, and that's it. $1, $2, whatever you want to donate is fine by me. It's fine with you, Julie. I know it's fine with Ben. Everybody, you do what you can do. There's nothing to gain by overextending yourself and getting
100%.
into a little bit of, you know, financial trouble. And I know you might $200, you know, max, you know, it is not a lot of money to some people, but to others, given the circumstances of what's going on in this world now, $200 is a big chunk of change. So if you need help or you need planning, reach out to one of us. We'll be glad to, you know, write it down and go from there. All I ever wanted to do is keep somebody on the right path. So please do not overextend yourself.
So I think that's an important point, because really the whole idea behind all of this is awareness, and really just to stop everybody from, I use this term with my children, is just don't be a jerk, right? Like I can't tell my kid, like, I can't, you know, another form of that word, but I mean, I could, but don't be a jerk, right? Like that's the basic premise of all of this. Don't be a jerk. And we're trying to raise awareness behind that. So, you know, we put together this whole event, and it does, you know, essentially cost a donation to get into it, but it doesn't cost anything to be a kind human being and to be a nice person. And truly, like you said, Chris, like, and I think that that's super important, is that if you want to be involved and want to help, that
Just
you don't
nice.
have to, yeah, exactly. You don't have to participate in the donation part of it. Just be a kind human being. And that's truly the basis of all of this, is just to try to push that and just raise awareness behind all that.
And as I said earlier today, if and this holds true, and I truly mean it. I don't say anything that's false or to gas other people up, or certainly to make me, you know, paint a weird picture of me. There's no smoke and mirrors, you know, over here with Detroit Beastie. But you know, if anything you need, you want to get something off your chest, you have some anxieties about some event coming up, I'm always available. Reach out to me. You have an issue with something with BrighterSkies where, you know, I want a team, but I only have $10 to spend. Message me. We'll make it work. All you have to do is talk to one of us. All you got to do is say, hey, I like what you're doing. I can't donate, but in turn, I'm going to be nice to my old crabby man neighbor today. Whatever you do, the basis and the key to everything in life with your wife, your husband, your coworkers, anybody, is communication. I am always available to talk, whether it's an hour, whether it's 2 hours, whether it's 5 minutes. So all you ever have to do is reach out and say, hi, this is what's on my mind. Even if it's just to say, you know what, that broadcast I watched of you, you know, it was a lot. You talked a lot, Chris, but Julien and Ben were fantastic. Whatever you want to say, I'm here. I don't judge. And again, everything will remain confidential. I can promise you that.
Yeah, I mean, I
Appreciate that.
We got to just appreciate that, right? Like that's just the type of person that you are, Chris. And you know, you practice what you preach. We see it every day. You're always posted, you know, uplifting tweets. And you know, the past 3 days, I think you posted a separate "be kind" tweet. You know, that's what I got from it. That was the premise, is, you know, be a kind person. And so I appreciate you for that. I'm super excited to have you on board with BrighterSkies as one of our hour-long hosts. And I'm excited to get into the rest of our episode, guys, because I have been working my butt off with my PowerPoint skills, and I am pretty pumped to do this with you. So I'll pull it in here.
We're not done. I was going to go to bed. What the heck are we doing?
I know, Chris. But I'm holding on to you for just a little bit longer. Yeah, just a little longer. Let's move in.
That.
It's supposed to say, "Who's that prospect?" Brought to you by the Point After podcast, but it didn't say it.
I heard it on mine. I can see it and I heard it.
All right. So basically, I'll give you a what's going on here? Sorry, 1 second, guys. Can you guys talk about BrighterSkies for a second? I'm having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, so Chris, I guess I do have a question for you, because I know, like, we talked about and we do have a host chat going on. So you know, is your plan when you are hosting? Are you planning to be solo hosting? I know we've invited all of our hosts to bring on guests. Are you comfortable speaking about anybody that may be joining you at this point?
Well, as it stands right now, I have with me, and again, not trying to pat myself on the back, but I every move I make is cool and calculated. So I don't want to reach out to people and then say this, and something could fall through. So as it stands right now, I have no issue, as I'm sure both of you know, talking for a full hour. Will that probably, end up that way? Absolutely not. I'm more than happy to reach out to several people. I've actually been in contact with a few people, because as it stands now, 1 hour, to some people is a long period of time. But as you both know, on broadcasts and in drafts, it goes by in the blink of an eye. Now,
Absolutely.
because it's the cause here is mental health and cyberbullying, I wanted to get into some personal sides of my life and what I've done, what I've been through, and how I've came out the other end. Things were bad at one point, but I came out, and there's been brighter skies, from doing the next right thing here. Some struggles with substance abuse in my 20s after college. What I learned from that and how I kind of use that now on a daily basis, like a 12-step program each and every day. And that just goes to the, treating people kind and, don't take anything for granted. It can all be taken away in a heartbeat. I know that's corny, cliche, old man, grandpa talk, but it's realistic. And again, I think that kind of attitude has fallen on deaf ears as of late, not only on social media, but again, in real, regular, everyday life. So, I've been, in close contact with a lot of you. Been on several broadcasts the last year or two. I write, people interact with that. I interact back with them, but I have yet to really, run solo and speak about, the bad decisions that I've made and what it led to, and even the good decisions that I've made and what it's led to. So, I wanted to kind of not go on for an hour and a half, and bore people, but just kind of tell my story in an abbreviated amount of time with it having kind of a good ending as it stands right now. So, sharing, my substance abuse stuff, anger issues along those lines, because again, on social media, everybody can paint a picture. Everybody can use smoke and mirrors to paint like this perfect story. My marriage is fantastic. My kids are fantastic. My job is outstanding, right? That's we all know, at face value and deep down, we know that's not the case. Life is not like that. There's hardship. Yep. There's both good and bad decisions to make on a daily basis, minute to minute, hour to hour. So if I can, kind of tell my story in a realistic manner that would resonate with other people, that's all I've ever tried to do. And that's kind of where I'm going in my hours worth of broadcast for Brighter Skies.
So I think that's super important though, because I think the whole premise behind this, at least for me personally, is that transparency is so huge. And I know that word, speaking to the cliches, that word can be very cliche, but it's something that at least, my wife and I, we really try to use a lot in our lives. We're raising 2 young children, 2 young boys, in fact. And we communication and transparency to me are 2 just incredibly important features of, not only parenting, but just communication in general. And so, and I think that that's awesome that you're even willing to share. And I don't think that that's corny or cliche, or you mentioned bore people. To me, that is the absolute premise behind this, is not being afraid to talk and wanting to share your stories, because it, you mentioned at the beginning, Chris, if one person hears that and says, you know what, I'm going through that right now, and Chris is too, and he came out on the other side of it, and that's important for him, and now it becomes important to that person. Like you said, if it falls on one person's ears, that it changes even their perspective, or they even think to say, hey, I'm going to reach out to you or somebody else, because you know what? Yeah, this isn't okay the way that it's okay, but this isn't the way that I want to continue to think, or the path that I want to continue to go down. And I think that if that falls on one person's ears and it makes a difference, then it doesn't matter. What you're doing is a good thing.
Well, we all have had and still do hopes and dreams and goals, and some of them have crashed and burned, and we'll never chase those again. Some we're still hanging on to, and others we've achieved them, and we're constantly making new ones and more goals and ideals here. And in the hour worth of time, there, a lot of special things can happen. And I don't want to waste it with, DFS talk or, oversaturate it with dynasty or redraft talk. I want to let people know what I'm about, and we're all the same. We all have gone through, the same struggles and decisions. The details I found in human behavior and human interactions, the details are always the same. It's the circumstances that are different, how I got from point A to point B. And again, this has all happened so organically with the broadcasting and the writing and the interacting. I was going to take that hour's worth of time. It's going to be a preview of, I would have liked to wait to share this, but I can do it here now. It's going to be like an hour preview of what I'm going to be doing with my own broadcasting, with my own podcast. It's going to be, struggles and learning, and what did we learn from, the failures and things along those lines, with a little bit of a philosophical twist, and in turn DFS and football in general, because again, I'm learning and growing every minute of every day. So what better time to kind of showcase what I'm about and showcase where I'm headed, in this writing and broadcasting world on social media and in regular everyday life.
Yeah,
Awesome,
I love
man.
it, guys. I love that. I'm all about it. So I got my technical difficulties figured out, my dudes. So here we go. Let's try this again. Who's that prospect? Brought to you by the Point After Podcast, because the audio apparently didn't work. All right, so how the game works. I'll give you guys the prospect's position, height, and weight. I'll give you their big 5 pro day stats, which are the 40-yard dash, 3-cone drill, bench press, vertical jump, and broad jump. I'll also give you 2 clues about the player. These range all different kinds of clues. Your job is to guess who's behind each silhouette, and we have 6 players in total, and they're going to get progressively harder. All right.
Okay.
These are all draft prospects in this year's class. I'm also going to give you guys the position, so it'll give you a little bit more leeway. The first one, I'll warn you, is it's a layup. You guys better get this one. So you got the position. It's tight end.
Oh,
6'6", 245 pounds, 4'4", 440, 35-inch vertical. If you guys really need a hint, he shares a number with Irv Smith Jr., Cordero Patterson, and formerly Antonio Brown.
is he still a Florida Gator, Julian?
But I mean, let's see.
I'll say, who is Kyle Pence?
There we go. It is Kyle Pitts, number 84 for the University of Florida. I got some fun stats pulled up here. He had a pick 6 and 2 forced fumbles, playing defensive end in his high school league championship. His coaches all refer to him as the unicorn. He won the John Mackey Tight End Award in 2020, which is like there was no competition for that, outside of him. And he was the first ever tight end named for the Bilintikov Award, which is really, really cool. And then was also the first tight end in over 40 years to finish in top 10 pro Heisman voting. So
realistically speaking,
player. Yeah,
the first four selections of the real life draft are going to tell a story in terms of the rest of the top 10, right? So, and I think the key to the entire first round is what the Atlanta Falcons are going to do at 4. If they draft a quarterback, then there's a high probability that the Lions at 7 might be able to grab Kyle Pitts, or maybe there's a slim chance that Jamar Chase, falls at 7. And again, it all hinges on what the Atlanta Falcons do at pick 4. I'd love to have this kid in Detroit. And Ben, one pride.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because it's something that I've definitely talked a lot about, and I think that I think he'd be a great fit there, to be honest. And I know it's something that I've mentioned, BCU and I probably can refer to them as some of the casuals, the people you run into in the backyard barbecues that say, I can't believe they drafted another tight end, but those are people that clearly haven't seen this kid play, because he's a true X receiver.
He's a unicorn.
He's an X receiver at the NFL level.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It's funny you say that, because I've seen that Atlanta could take him too, which would just be incredible
Crazy.
as well. You put him with Arthur Smith and
Calvin Ridley and Julio.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, that's a sweet position fit too. So.
Yeah, it would be really interesting. I'm excited to see where he goes. I love this kid. I'm I'm all on board the Kyle Pitts train. I've been hyping this guy for a couple months now. I started with D Brown introducing me way back in like December, and yeah, I mean Craig says it best down here. He's a freaking unicorn.
Yes,
let's
man.
go. All right, let's move on to our second silhouetted player. This is a wide receiver. He's 6 feet tall, 201 pounds. He ran a 4.38. He had a 41-inch vertical. 11-foot broad jump. You guys can see the rest of the short shuttle and the three cone. I'll give you your 2 clues. He led all of college football in touchdowns over 20-plus yards in both the 2019 and 2020 seasons combined, with 14 total. And your second clue is I grew up in Louisiana and was a 4-star recruit out of Archbishop Rummel High School.
Oh, I have an idea, but it doesn't add up. With the clues, it doesn't add up.
I'll give you guys a minute to converse amongst yourselves. Try and figure this out.
Sure. Well, go ahead, Ben.
I was going to say, like, so, I mean, he's from Louisiana. I know a lot of Louisiana kids stay home, right? Like, a lot of times they usually get recruited by LSU. And there's 2 receivers in this class that are from LSU that are thought of pretty highly. The numbers, I think they're both pretty close on the 40 time. And height-wise, I don't know, like, are you as familiar with their heights? Like, I mean, I think they're both pretty dang close in that range. So, I don't know. I feel like it's one of the LSU kids.
That was my initial reaction because he grew up in Louisiana, and my guess was going to be, Rashad Bateman in Minnesota. Why would you leave Louisiana and go to Minnesota? Because he's exactly 6 feet tall. But Louisiana and, Waddle and Jamar Jefferson, I could have swore Jamar Jefferson was taller than 6 foot. Same thing with Jalen Waddle. I thought he was 6'1", and Chase was 6'2" and 6'3". So I'm stumped.
I think Smokey's helping us here in the comments, though. If I'm looking over, he's talking about
Smokey is helping you.
The last 2 years combined, he says. So you got to look. I don't know how many 20-plus yard touchdowns did he have did Chase have in 2019? Because he didn't play last year. So if he led over the last 2 years, that's freaking impressive.
It is extremely impressive, and it is Jamar Chase.
Okay.
For the LSU Tigers. So on September 9th, 2019, Chase lit up the college football world when he torched Vanderbilt for 229 yards and 4 touchdowns. He won the Biletnikoff Award, previously mentioned, with Kyle Pitts in 2019 after setting an SEC record for single-season receiving yards with 1,780 and 20 touchdowns, which is also pretty egregious. And then I just thought this was a crazy fun fact is he switched his cleats at halftime of every LSU game because he thought that it gave him a better fit. I don't know. I couldn't do that. Like that would drive me nuts. But yeah, and then he was also a high school state champion in the long jump with a 7.5 meter lead. Again, I mean, 7.06. So.
There's another kid that, I mean, I know he's been so talked about, but like at 19 years old to put together the season that he did. Yeah, obviously Burrow just broke records that year, but man, like that kid just was so impressive in 2019. And I mean, I know we talked about Kyle Pitts with the Lions. Like, I mean, you can't help but look at what this kid may be able to do too. Like you look at talk about alpha receivers, true X receivers. Like, I mean, Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase are both right there, and they're both going to be probably top 6 picks probably in this draft.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think both these guys probably go top 6. I actually made a bet with my buddy last night that Kyle Pitts would be a top 10 pick because he said there's no way.
That's crazy.
Again, I mean, this is
easy money.
We talked about this earlier. I'm like, that's easy, man. Of course he's a top 10 pick. Like,
no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's like, no, they're not spending a top 10 pick on a tight end. And I'm like, dude, like he's a Broncos fan, right? And I'm like, Noah Fant was what, 12 or 16, and then Hawkinson I think was like 8 overall.
He was 8,
that year. So and Kyle Pitts is twice the prospect in my opinion that they were, like as a weapon in this receiving game. Anyways, let's get back to what we're doing here because we're talking about Kyle Pitts again. Moving on to our third one, we've got our third position in as many rounds. So we've got a running back here. He's 5'10", 212 pounds. He ran a 4.55, a 36-inch vertical. He had a 10.3 broad jump and 4.9 short shuttle. And 6.97 3-cone drill. Also benched 22 reps at 225.
I'm pretty sure I know this one.
Well, let me give you your last two hints, because I think that these ones they kind of give it away. But let's see if you guys can do this. So tied for 4th in total touchdowns scored in 2020 with 22 total. And despite splitting 50% of offensive snaps with his counterpart, he rushed for over 1,000 yards, and so did his counterpart. So, Chris, who do you think it is? You spoke first there.
I mean, counterpart gave it away. You know, a fantastic running back duo that did what they did. It's obviously Javonte Williams in North Carolina, and the counterpart would be Carter, right? Michael Carter?
Michael Carter, yep. Yeah, I'm with you.
So it is Javonte Williams. So I'm impressed, guys. He obviously University of North Carolina. He was in the AP All-American team, AP All-ACC first team, and All-ACC second team. All very impressive. Led the nation with 75 avoided tackles. Finished 2nd in rushing with 10+ yards, and was 3rd in total first downs with 72 total. Again, for a guy who only played 50% of snaps, I think that's pretty darn impressive. And then also set the single season program record for 132 points scored and 22 total touchdowns in one season. That's ridiculous.
I'm a firm believer. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but I'm a firm believer that every human being on earth has some weird skill that they're really good at, but that skill is meaningless. And to be fair, I'm very good at trivia on podcasts. I mean, normally, where else on earth do you get that? You know, like, my mom can't do that. You know, the bank teller can't do that. But I'm very good, like high end, like upper echelon at trivia on podcast. I hold several records across the Twitter scape of broadcasts and podcasts as the highest scoring or the overall winner in trivia. It makes no sense.
BC, I just want to see you go to the bank and be like, tell me what running back, right? You know.
Yeah. I'll give you multiple choice.
All right, guys, let's move on to our next one. This is where it starts to get a little bit tougher. These guys are going in like the second to back end of the second in ADP. So there's another clue for you. This is another wide receiver. He's 6 feet tall, 197 pounds. He ran a 4.54 and did a 38.5-inch vertical. Also benched 20 reps. His middle name is the same as mine, Julien, but it's spelt with an A. And the second clue is his dad was a 2-time Mr. Universe and 3-time Mr. World bodybuilder in the 1980s.
Oh.
This one's a piece of cake. His brother played at USC. It's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Gotta be.
Man, Chris,
Equanimous St. Brown's brother?
Equanimous, his brother. Yeah. Very, very cool guys. I did a bunch of research about this whole family actually this past week. And as you can see here, he's fluent in all of English, German, and French. Him and his brother were both, all three of them. The reason that they have such unique names is because his dad's name was John Brown. And he said he wanted his kids to stand out. And he didn't know what they were going to do in life, but he knew they were going to be special. And so both Amon-Ra and their brother, I think it's Osiris. Yeah.
Osiris, I think.
Osiris is how you say it. They're both named after Egyptian gods, which I think is pretty cool. So,
that is fantastic. And his older brother had that one really fantastic game.
And then a bunch of drops.
In Green Bay, and he was like like a DFS darling for a week, and he was one of the more hotter waiver wire ads of the week, and he completely disappeared. And I also want to say I'm glad they kind of changed their names, because personally I don't want anybody in my life named John Brown. And yes, I'm talking about the NFL wide receiver. Just drives me crazy.
The Raider.
Hey guys, do you legitimate question? Do you believe in Amon-Ra St. Brown? Do you think he has more fantasy implications, say, in 2020 than Equanimous? Because we know where Equanimous stands.
Yes.
I do. I think I would say he's more fantasy relevant than his brother next year.
I do. I think. Go ahead, BJ.
Go ahead, Ben.
I was gonna say, I think you look at the recent history of USC receivers, and we've had some really nice receivers come out of USC. Juju, Michael Pittman, and now we've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I think we've seen some of these guys, and he kind of, to me at least, fits that mold in some ways of more Michael Pittman a little bit, but I think he 100% has a chance to make a difference somewhere. Like you said, he's probably a second round pick. he's got a chance to really kind of establish himself as one of those, potentially starting receivers for somebody.
Sure.
Correct.
For sure.
From everything I've read about Aman, he's just everything he does is silky smooth. He's a very fluid athlete. His acceleration is fantastic. He can turn and burn. He does get kind of bogged down at the line of scrimmage in press coverage, but a lot of the comps have been with Robert Woods. So getting stifled, getting stifled and pressed at the line of scrimmage is something you can learn and work on. Different techniques with your feet, your hand motions. But again, people say you can't teach speed. I'm on the fence with that one. Aman is going to be a fantastic at the next level.
Yeah, I think so. I think he is going to be somebody's wide receiver 3 at least, on an NFL team, probably a wide receiver 2. And this is a guy who, can pick up sneaky yards, right? By the end of the game, he probably has a lineup, 5 and 80 and maybe a touchdown. You're looking at, 15 to 20 fantasy points. That's a good game. And you don't even know how he got there. I think that he has that upside. I like him.
They always say, I've heard a lot lately, and it's true. It's tried and true. You always scout the talent. You don't scout the helmet here. But Aman, I think he's going to get a huge boost depending on what team drafts him. As you said, Julien, on most teams, he would be a wide receiver 3 if you look at what's going on in Indianapolis. But if he goes to team, or even Green Bay to a certain extent, but if he goes to a team like, Chicago, Allen Robinson is their number 1, and Aman could be that wide receiver 2 for that team right away. I have no qualms of a nice wide receiver kind of battle between Aman and, let's say, Darnell Mooney in Chicago. So again, you scout the player and not the helmet, but to me, his value in drafts and long term is very, very much team dependent where he goes draft wise.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see. I'm pumped for it, man. The NFL draft is 27 days away today, and I'm freaking excited, guys.
So I dig that too, BC, because I feel like he's a guy that could go maybe later second round based off the value of this class, and he could end up with one of these probably better teams. And so he two teams that I could see could be Baltimore, even though they just signed Sammy Watkins, and even Sammy Watkins' old team. We saw that Kansas City was really high up after a receiver. They went after Juju. They went after some of these guys. So he could end up in a situation where he 100% could step in and be a wide receiver 2 or 3 on a high explosive offense.
Humor me for a minute. Let's say, realistically, Amon-Ra St. Brown gets drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals. Could you imagine that 3-headed monster with T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Amon there, and with Joe Burrow at the helm? Or even kind of take it a step further and say, go to the Chargers with Justin Herbert. I think we all know without a shadow of a doubt, the Chargers are going to spend this draft, grabbing impact players to kind of help, Herbert along here. So Amon to LA would be fantastic. Amon to, as I've said, Cincinnati would be fantastic. And again, we wouldn't even see it coming. If Cincinnati drafts Amon, we would, oh my God, I didn't even think of that, but it's a fantastic fit. He would be, the wide receiver 3 or maybe 4, kind of work through it in training camp, OTA and spring, in preseason games. But, Amon on certain teams would just be an absolute dream.
I say watch New Orleans too, because that's a team that needs a receiver complement to Michael Thomas. We've tried to see it out of Traquan Smith and some of these other guys, but that's a team that 100% late second, I see targeting a receiver too.
Yeah, for sure.
We lost you, BC.
Yeah, sorry. I would say, going to Carolina, he would instantly be a wide receiver 2 for the Texans behind AJ Brown. So there's a lot of good options here.
Sorry, did you just say if he'd be a wide receiver 2 behind AJ Brown on the Texans?
No, on the I said Titans. I don't know if I cut out.
That's all good. I just wanted to make sure. Let's move on. We got 2 more here, guys. Our last one, it's another running back on this one. He's 5'8", 201 pounds. He ran a 4.42, 35-inch vertical, a 10.1 broad jump. He opted out of the 2020 season due to the COVID-19 pandemic after he lost 4 family members to the virus. And your second clue is, as a redshirt freshman in 2019, he combined for 2,069 yards from scrimmage and 16 total touches.
So I think that first clue kind of gives it away for me. I'm not sure where you're at, BC, but I think I got this one.
then by all means, Ben, have at it.
So I think it's former Memphis running back Kenneth Gainwell, whatever he wants to go by, because I know he opted out last season, and there we go.
There you have it. Well done, Ben.
So,
No, I mean, you said it, so I figured I'd just throw it up there. But yeah, no, West University of Memphis dedicates his collegiate and NFL career to his brother, who suffered a tragic weight room accident in 2013, causing him to have a stroke and 4 brain surgeries. I mean, this kid's been through a lot. And like, honestly, like that's really traumatizing. We're here talking about spreading kindness, and like, you know, he's had some real serious stuff happen in his life. But to me, that just that speaks to his work ethic, and just like that's the intangible of this this guy. And I really like this kid. I think landing spot is going to be huge in terms of how we view him from a fantasy perspective. But like as a player, I want him to succeed. I'm rooting for him. So yeah.
So I feel like when you come from a background like that, like he's coming from, like I hate to use that as like a positive, but when you're talking like guys that really use some of those, some of those like really devastating life events, and they are coming out on top of them, like those are like human beings that you want in your corner, right? Because like you could use all the cliches you want, but like the guy clearly, like he has his motivations of why he's doing what he's doing, and those are guys that are like, they are not going to let themselves fail. So from a pure like football standpoint, from a pure like this is why I'm doing it, like that's a guy that's just the heart is
you want
there.
that guy on your team, for sure.
As human beings, we're always we people fall in love quick, or we get enamored, or we romanticize certain ideas. And in terms of fantasy football, myself included, and every other person I've ever talked to, we have our guys. Kids that we need on our team by any means necessary at any cost. I have 2 kids coming out of this year's draft that I will do anything to grab, and Kenneth Gainwell is one of them. And currently in my dynasty, my long-term 14-team dynasty, I have round 1, pick 13. And if Kenny Gainwell is there at 13th overall, I am selecting him, and I don't care. I'm not going to think twice, because, and it's not even that much of a reach from everything I've seen. Kenny Gainwell kind of raised up.
ADP. You might have to move up, Chris.
Yeah, I know. I've seen. I assumed his ADP was kind of, the start of round 2, like 202, 203. So 113 is a sweet spot, and I'm more than likely going to be able to draft him, but I will do anything and everything to get Kenny Gainwell on my dynasty rosters.
Yeah, I love it. And these last 2 facts, I just want to touch on them real quick, because this is crazy, man. In high school, he played quarterback, not running back, and he threw for 3,682 yards, 32 touchdowns, and rushed for 4,730 yards and 75 touchdowns in his 4 high school seasons, which like is ridiculous. That's 18 touchdowns a year on the ground. We have to assume that like I don't know the stats on it, but a lot of those probably came in like his senior year and like his junior year. I'm sure he wasn't putting 18 touchdowns up on the ground in his first season in high school when he's in grade 9, right? So like that just speaks to his versatility and like the athlete that this kid is. And we just talked about the intangible side of it. And so I honestly, like, I love Kenny Gainwell. I'm happy that you guys got this one right. And then this last one too is just a fun stat. In 2019 versus Tulane, he became the first player since 1997 to post 200 receiving yards and 100 rushing yards in the same game, which again is pretty ridiculous, because we were just talking about how he passed for 3,500 yards, right? So it's honestly phenomenal. So let's move on to our last guy. We can fanboy about Kenny Gainwell off the pod sometime. Our last one here. This is a deeper guy, right? So we've got the wide receiver position. He's 5'9", 178 pounds. He ran a 4.35, 36-inch vertical, and his broad jump was 10. Also pumped out 17 bench press reps. So first clue, he led the country in receiving yards per game with 159, and in yards per reception with 10.8. And your second clue, he finished 3rd in all-time single-season receiving yards for his school, finishing 127 yards behind A.J. Brown, despite playing 4 less games in our respective years. So that is an extra clue in there for you, if you guys can decipher the A.J. Brown clue.
So A.J. Brown played at Ole Miss, right?
He did.
So
then it's settled.
Yeah, right.
Who
is the guy coming out? Was it Elijah Moore?
There you go.
This
It's like
is
you
crazy.
said it, and Craig knew it. Is it Elijah Moore? Let's see. Boom. It is Elijah Moore, and I'm a big fan of this kid too. I pretty much only put people in this game that I wanted to talk about because I like these guys, and Elijah Moore is one of them. Just his that last stat right there, 159 yards per game, 10.8 receiving receptions. Yards per reception. Just really speaks to like how versatile this player is, because like it's not like he's only getting the ball downfield. He can be a deep threat. We see him get involved in the screen game. We see him get involved in slants, like those inside crossers, and he's involved all over the field. So I absolutely love this kid. He had 34 scholarship offers as a 4-star recruit out of St. Thomas Aquinas High School. In his junior year, season opener, he caught 10 passes for 227 yards, which is the second most in Rebels history in a single game. And he followed that up by setting a single game for school receiving yard with 238 yards and tied the most receptions in a game with 14. Has phenomenal hands. Like, this is a guy that I'm targeting in the second round. If I'm at that 203, 204, 205 in my dynasty startups, I'm targeting him because I absolutely love Elijah Moore, and 8 is my favorite number. Ben, go.
Yeah, man, I take it. I think he's a guy that it just speaks to the depth of this class, because I mean he's I don't know, he's kind of lost in, I think, like the conversation here, but I know he's a guy that I've seen projected as of late to be potentially a late first rounder, and 100%. I mean, if he gets that kind of draft capital, he's a guy that you need to be looking at, and like you said, I mean, you're looking at probably an early second round dynasty draft type of pick. And that's a guy that in many other classes is probably going first round. And 100%. I mean, I think that he has a chance to be a game breaker in the NFL based off of what we've seen. So I like it.
If he does go in the first round of the NFL draft, how do you adjust your dynasty ranks? Like, are you moving him up your draft board? Are you then going to spend the 110 on him, or are you still want to spend the 202?
I'd say I'm not, only because the depth of this class, just to be honest. So like, I think it depends. Like super flex, no.
Yeah.
One QB, yes. Right. Like super flex, you've got 4 QBs in this class that almost like probably should have to go first round. Outside of that, yeah, 1 QB, probably. He's a guy that I'm looking at, like outside of probably the big 4 of this wide receiver class. If he goes first round, he's got to be like right outside of, just after Bateman out of the receiving class here. So.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
I would draft him at the end of a first round, in a 14-team, 12-team league per se, and without a doubt in the beginning of the second round. So it's like, it's business 101. If I'm selling something and I only want $300, but I tell you I want 5, and then we talk and you say, would you take 300? Now, yeah, so I'll settle with 300 when I know I wanted $300 the whole time. So with Elijah Moore, I would pay a first round price, and people might think, maybe he'll be drafted in our drafts in the second round, when realistically, I'm more than happy to draft him in the first round. It's just kind of, like a bait and switch, or as they say, a Kansas City shuffle. When everybody's looking left, we go right.
So I would say to that point real quick, as far as like rookie drafts go, and I think that a point that is often missed is that a lot of times rookie drafts are not snake style. So you've got, like, if you have a late first, look at who you're going to get late second. So if you're are looking to take a flyer on a guy, like he is the kind of guy that you take a flyer on. So 100% like late first, that's a guy that you grab knowing the talent that's going to hit you late second. Obviously trades and other things have factors, but depending on how your draft breaks down, and if you don't pick until late second, I mean, the talent break between a guy like Elijah Moore and then late second is a huge difference.
Yeah, it really is. It's pretty crazy what the difference that makes. So thank you guys for playing. I appreciate it. Who's that prospect? Brought to you by the Point After. It was a pleasure, guys. And I appreciate both of you guys coming on. That pretty much wraps up at what we got on the docket for today. But obviously we talked a bunch about BrighterSkies today. That was awesome to put out there. I'm super excited to get some feedback on that. And again, get into this league, guys. If you only what you can afford, go back and listen if you didn't hear us talk about it earlier. What you can afford is what you can put in, and if you can't, then don't worry about it. Like BC said, reach out to us and we can figure something out. It's, look, we want this to be an enjoyable experience for everyone. And so I am super, super pumped for this, guys. Do you have any parting words on Brighter Skies, Ben, before we kick it out?
So the only thing that I would really say is that, like, what we haven't talked about is, so for one, thank you, by the way. So for one is that I know we've announced a lot of things on this pod, but one thing like that we haven't talked about is some of what's to come, right? Like, we're still going to release a lot of our hosts for the podathon, which we think is just going to be like super fun, super cool to be a part of. But along with those hosts, we have some special guests that we are planning to bring on, and some of them are pretty big names as far as what we've heard so far. So there's going to be a lot to come, and definitely follow the at BrighterSkies FF as it just scrolled across the screen. That is our handle. So definitely follow that. And like you said, like, really just the parting words is that, like, if you can't even afford the $20, like, that's 100%, that's absolutely fine. We get it. Like, this year has been obnoxious for all of us. So if you cannot, like, the parting thing that to take away from all of this is just, please just be a kind human being. Don't be a jerk. Understand that your words have a lasting impact, and we've seen what that lasting impact can have, whether it's bad or good. So just know that there is somebody else on the other side of whatever account you are tweeting at. And no matter what you say, it can have that impact. And don't be the one that makes it that bad impact. And I just don't be a jerk. I mean, I don't know. Like, that is my key. Like, don't be a jerk, man. That's just, be a good person. And that's all this comes down to. As far as Brighter Skies goes, like, that's the basis behind all of this. It's just kindness. And I don't think we can push that enough.
No, we really can't. We got to make a promo video just to be nice to people.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, and the other thing that I will say behind that is too, what you, like, the way that you perceive things and the way that, like, the way that you act, it's, people notice the way that you act. And whether you're a parent, and I speak this from the heart of a parent, is your children follow your direction, right? And that is one thing that I just 100% as a parent, like, I can't emphasize enough, is like that the future generations see the way that you act and the way that you treat people. And whether you can change somebody's mind now, maybe you can, maybe you can't, but you can absolutely change, like, the way that people act moving forward. And I just speak that from the heart of a parent. And I know that, like, that is, if I do anything in this life, it is shape decent human beings, right? Like, that is my job right now, is I have 2 kids, like, shape decent human beings. So, and I think that that's a big thing that Cyber Smiles pushes too. And they just want, like, the future generations to understand, like, what it means to be a decent human being. And so you do that now, and you teach the future generations to do it too.
Yeah, man, I couldn't have said it better myself. That's exactly it. We're pushing kindness. I love the way BC said it earlier. Don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution. That's what we're here for. We're gonna make a difference, and we're gonna make a change in not just the fantasy football community, but all of the, like, online community. I'm not okay with watching cyberbullying happen. I wasn't okay with watching it happen when I was in school, watching kids get bullied, and I'm not okay with it now in my adult life when I see it online. And so this is something that I'm very passionate about, and I care a lot about it, and really excited to put on this contest, but also, like, get that garbage out of here. We don't need that.
Right.
So, BC, anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Yeah, just a quick couple words. I just want to say, whatever you're doing right now, just stop and be grateful. Be thankful for that. Time is a very valuable resource. We don't get it back, and there's no, do-overs. A mistake is made, we try again, and we try and be better here. And when you go to bed tonight, I want everybody watching this live or on the replay, when you go to bed tonight and you put your head on your pillow, ask yourself out loud or just to yourself quietly, did I do the right thing today when nobody was looking? And if you said yes, fantastic. Let's try and double that behavior down tomorrow. If you said no, just try and be better tomorrow. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, I love it. So just one thing before we get out of here, guys, Just want to give a huge thanks to this episode sponsor, Monkey Knife Fight. We talked about them a little bit earlier, obviously with the 250 cash, Chris, you talked about doing some of the props over there, but they got all different kinds of contests, UFC, they got now MLB started up, they've got NBA, they got NASCAR, they got golf, like literally every kind of sport. They got contests for it over there, prop bets and whatnot. So definitely go check them out. It's a blast down over at monkeyknifefight.com. Just literally search MK or MKF on Google and it'll bring it up to you. And then you can get in there and use promo code TNFF to get $50 matched on your first deposit if you haven't signed up yet. So, all right, gents, I appreciate you guys coming on. That's all I got to say before we get out of here. Have yourself a fantastic Friday night.
Have a great week.